One of the things that's interesting to witness with Bitcoin is that everyone says that it's sound money, it's digital gold, right? They moved from the sort of story that it's digital cash. Okay, now we can't scale, so then what is this good for? It's good for a store of value, it's good for digital gold, right? Which I find funny, because every time somebody sort of changes like that narrative responsively like that to a technical deficiency, it's really just admitting they have a technical deficiency that they can't solve, which is fun. But it provides an interesting case study in that if you have Bitcoin and if you have dollars, what do you spend first?
Dollars.
Absolutely, right? Because your expectation of the future expected value of Bitcoin is always going to be higher than your expectation of the future expected value of dollars. So the problem that Bitcoin suffers from, even if we could scale Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin could do 50,000 TPS, like tomorrow. If the dollar exists in some capacity, I'm still always going to spend my dollars first. So even if we can scale it, because it has this like sounder form of money, it's still going to be hoarded no matter what, right? Because as long as there is a inferior form of money, as it's called, you will always spend that first. And as we've seen in time, there's always enterprising individuals or governments that are very keen on inventing inferior forms of money. So the problem is for Bitcoin is, how does it maintain its economic sustainability over time, right? So the security of Bitcoin right now is basically paid for by the block subsidies. So it's inflation, but its inflation curve goes to zero over time. And as that inflation like subsidy keeps going down, sort of the amount of money going towards security is also going down, right? And so the problem is, if I'm not having enough money generated in transactions to offset the block subsidies or the inflation subsidy, like what's the incentive for my miners over time? And what's the incentive for my miners to do it at a high enough level that it guarantees security for high values of money? It basically goes away. And people have actually talked about this in the Bitcoin community, right? They'll talk about like very ardent, like old school Bitcoiners are talking about the fact that they don't know if 21 million is an actual cap, because they don't know how far past this happening there's a sustainable security margin on Bitcoin. And in the long term, effectively, the security margin is only what you can generate in fees, right? So if you're stuck at 5 TPS, then suddenly, like, what do you have to charge per transaction to like maintain security? You have to offset the entire inflation subsidy. So suddenly transactions are minimum $1,000 per transaction. And then the question is, are you even going to find 5 TPS at $1,000 a hit to like keep that system going? I don't think it's sustainable. And so the question then becomes, the way to have a proof of work chain become sustainable is you need transaction throughput.